Where were you on September 4th, 2025? This was the day that Hollow Knight Silksong released itself onto the world and also caused every digital storefront to shut down due to the demand. It has been 8 years since Team Cherry, the developer and publisher behind Silksong, had put out their previous game, Hollow Knight, that was met with universal praise. The long wait for the sequel to Hollow Knight built up a fury and fervor that every video game developer dreams of, but despite all the hype, there was a question on everyone's mind when they finally hit that coveted install button. Was it worth the wait? If you're unfamiliar with the Hollow Knight series and are wondering what makes this game different when compared to its predecessor, the biggest difference is the main playable character, Hornet. Hollow Knight Silksong makes Hornet the main focus, and she must take on her own set of challenges, much like her previous counterpart the Knight did in his adventures. From the get-go, it's very obvious that Hornet is a very different character. The way she moves is much faster and fluid, and no longer is the player taking control of a silent protagonist. While the character of Hornet was always intriguing to Hollow Knight players, they never really got to explore her as much as they wanted. Hornet is a fully fleshed out character with her own thoughts and ideals, and seeing Hornet react to other characters in her own way makes the Kingdom of Farlum feel much more alive and hollowness from the previous game. While having a more fleshed out protagonist does take more work, it's an effort that I do not believe will go unnoticed when playing Hollow Knight Silksong. Every part of Hornet's design feels very intentional, her unique diagonal piercing attacks being a main part of her attacking strategy, making the name Hornet a very fitting one. Her red cloak stands out against the darker tones of Farlum, while also aiding in her traversal by giving the player a gliding ability for safer navigation of platforms and pitfalls. After a few upgrades, players will quickly find themselves dashing through the air and comboing opponents and using strategically placed tools to their advantage. The diagonal attack may take some time to get used to for some players, but once mastered, prepare to pogo Hornet off the tops of many enemies' heads. Combat is all risk versus reward. You must manage Hornet's silk meter properly to succeed. For every hit Hornet lands on an enemy, she will gain silk points that can be spent on different combat abilities and tools. The trade-off is that silk is also your source of healing. In every fight, you must make split-second decisions as you anticipate the moves of every bug you fight throughout Farlum. Do you spend silk to land a much more powerful blow, allowing you to end the fight quicker? Or do you build up more silk in case you miss your dodge window and need to heal up? Landing a stronger attack will do more damage to the enemy, but you risk not having enough silk to heal up if the enemy lands a near-death blow. Silk isn't the only thing you'll be managing. As Hornet, you'll come across several different tools that impact your overall gameplay by just making your life easier. Some tools are projectiles that damage enemies from afar, allowing you to keep your distance in fights when necessary, while others, like the Magma Bell, make exploration a lot easier by negating fire damage, which becomes extremely helpful as one of the early locations has a ton of lava and hot stones waiting for you to make a misstep and take extra damage for your carelessness. Silksong also offers a ton of flexibility with its crest system too. Crests allow Hornet to carry a different number of tools and tool types, depending on which crest she has equipped. Each crest also has a unique moveset as well. For example, the Reaper crest lets you gain additional silk for each arcing hit you land, while the Beast crest allows Hornet to perform much quicker slashes and leads to a more aggressive style of play that steals life from enemies. The beauty of the crest system is that it allows players to utilize different builds for Hornet and really customize their experience as they explore Farlum. Tools and crests are great, but the combat enhancements along with needle upgrades, health upgrades, and even abilities needed to progress sometimes feel a little too spaced out. From an exploration standpoint, this makes sense, as Team Cherry likely does not want the players to see everything too quickly and have no reason to keep playing, but at the same time, it can be frustrating early on to have essential skills like sprinting locked behind a boss battle. Even with exploration, health upgrades and needle upgrades feel very sparse. Hollow Knight Silksong is a beautiful game. It builds on the style that was established in its predecessor by expanding on different kinds of bugs, their personalities, and their place in the Kingdom of Farlum. Much like Hollow Knight, we see a medieval-esque society showcased in Silksong, but through a different lens. Characters like Chakra, the map merchant, build relationships with Hornets that lead to the exact kind of richer experience you would want from a sequel. She's also someone you'll constantly encounter throughout the game, and also sings a very catchy tune. Even from the opening area, the game feels more grand, with small set pieces making exploration feel much more cinematic. While there are fully animated cutscenes in Silksong during bigger story moments, I found the world reacting to you running through it feeling much more impactful. While the animation work in Silksong is well done, and I'd love to see a fully animated project in the Hollow Knight universe, the cutscenes do feel out of place since Hornet is very quiet in them. Her lack of voice feels strange, as she's very vocal with everyone else she encounters but takes on a vow of silence during big animated story bits. As you explore Farloom and find settlements and encampments where other bugs live and thrive, you'll be tasked with optional side quests that sometimes felt necessary to finish the game due to some of the rewards almost feeling essential. Side quests give you a reason to return to past areas as they evolve and change as you progress. Areas might change and require you to take down a new boss, or even re-challenging a previously defeated boss in a new environment. Other side quests might follow a simple path, such as finding a lost merchant or simply making a donation to help out your fellow bugs. Navigating the tunnels and challenges of Farloom is addicting, as every new area holds an opportunity for new upgrades and characters, but take a wrong turn too early, and you might find yourself in one of the many challenging fights of Silksong. If exploration is what entices the player, then boss fights are what keeps them returning for the next play session. Boss fights range from a gauntlet of several waves of common enemies to larger-than-life unique creatures with their own exclusive abilities and attack patterns. Each boss fight feels like learning a song, where each boss has a natural flow to their moves and requires perfectly timed reactions. Like a song, some fights might need to be practiced over and over again until the aha moment appears. I was personally a fan of a boss that can be encountered early on that requires the player to attack from above to maximize their success, and punishing the player for just trying to slash what is directly in front of them. This early fight really felt like Team Cherry was saying, hey, reminder that Hornet plays differently than the Knight. Please use aerial attacks to your advantage. Boss battles are clearly where the game shines the brightest, and will be beloved by fans of challenge that many difficult games are known for. Tough boss fights might make Silksong sound like a Souls-like, but it is very much a Metroidvania. However, that doesn't mean the game is any less hard than its Souls-like counterparts. Each time I encountered a boss, I could see myself inching closer to victory as I began to improve my pattern recognition with each loss. While some of the paths running back to the bosses felt annoying or difficult at first, they soon turned into optimal speedrunner path challenges. My goal was to make my way back to the boss room as fast and efficiently as I could to maximize my time and energy on fighting the boss, while also ensuring I had max health and items to start each boss fight with as much of an advantage as possible. Some runbacks are definitely better than others, but these moments often allowed me to refine my skills with each sequential run. Depending on a player's skill level, some of these fights might deter someone from returning to Silksong and opting to choose a less difficult game. I see no shame in that as someone with a full-time job and a list of responsibilities. I want to feel that I'm enjoying my free time. I am someone that feels enjoyment when overcoming a difficult task in a video game, but I'm well aware that not everyone thinks that way. If you're not someone that enjoys difficult games, then I suggest trying the PC version where mods can help impact quality of life or lower the difficulty of the game. I do not mean that as an insult, as I think this is a great game that everyone should play, but I understand that not everyone has the time to fight the same boss over and over again, learning every frame of a difficult boss's attack patterns until they finally win. There were quite a few spots where I considered putting the game down, especially since there's a slew of new things to play in fall of 2025. But I persisted, and each time it paid off, allowing me to find new secrets, tools, and upgrades for Hornet. Some of these discoveries helped improve my chances of defeating the next boss, while others often felt like they made little to no difference. I will say, when things get hectic in a fight, it's very nice that Silksong allows you to pause everything and take a breath. There are also other frustrations with gameplay that sometimes feel like an oversight, or Team Cherry deliberately trolling players by making Silksong harder than it needed to be. One of those frustrations is how touching a stun boss leads to Hornet taking 2 hits of damage. In a game where you start off with 5 hits maximum before dying, it feels a little cruel. I understand that Team Cherry wants to constantly remind the player that Silksong is challenging, but it feels unfair sometimes to step a pixel too close to a boss who is immobile and still take damage. Hollow Knight Silksong definitely falls in line with what you would expect out of a very well-polished Metroidvania, and Team Cherry definitely delivers on the promise of creating a challenging yet engaging game. That being said, I do think skipping on an easy mode was an oversight. My completion time was 61 hours in total, which may not be something that everyone has time for. I know many people have full-time jobs, families, and other hobbies outside of gaming. Asking them to commit 60 hours to an incredibly tough experience can be discouraging for these people, and I think having difficulty options would allow a wider breadth of people to enjoy Silksong. By no means are you required to 100% the game, or even do every side quest or activity to complete the game, unless you want the true ending. But the game does have stopgaps that will be very hard to overcome if you try to just stick to the game's critical path without exploring. While there's not a way to grind to level Hornet up, there are tools and upgrades that can make her more powerful and your life easier. Ultimately, I think Silksong is a fantastic game for anyone who loves challenging experiences and was absolutely worth the wait. But for anyone who may not have a lot of free time nowadays, you might want to consider installing mods to streamline your experience. Hollow Knight Silksong released on September 4th, 2025, and was both developed and published by Team Cherry via Steam, GOG, and Humble Bundle, and on console via Nintendo Switch 1 and 2, PlayStation 4 and 5, and Xbox Series X and S, and Game Pass. Thanks for watching, and have an awesome day.